Call to order at 6. Pledge of allegiance.
Please stand. Salute, pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Board of Trustees welcome you to tonight's meeting and appreciate your interest in our schools. Thank you for being here. Approval of agenda for October 13, 2022.
Before we approve the agenda, I do have a request to move agenda item 13.5 up in the agenda. I'd like to place that up on the agenda right after the reconvening of closed session. Right after we make the announcements from closed session.
Do I have a first motion?
I'll make that first motion.
Do I, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It pass. Public comments on closed session items.
We have no public comments on the closed session items.
Convince to close session.
At what time?
at 6:45. Closed session announcement, approval of expulsion. Do I have a first motion? Do I have a second?
Virginia, turn on your.
I so move first motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It passed. Big Mac? Big Mac added, update of progress.
Yes, we'll be going, this is the agenda item 13.5 that we moved up in the agenda. This is the FICMAT audit, is an update on progress. We do have one public comment on this agenda item. And so Lisa Smith.
I hate this thing. My name is Lisa Smith, and I'm an English teacher at Fairfax Junior High. Thank you for letting me address the board as a private citizen tonight. I have three purposes. First, I personally want to thank Mrs. Lawson and Mrs. Coronel for their commitment to the Fairfax community during these past 2 years. It has truly been an awful time for this community, and I'm grateful for your tenacity and caring while bringing all this nonsense to a close. Thank you so much from me to you. Second, I want to ask the board to consider returning to a legal services contract with Schools Legal if that's not already being considered. The cost of legal services since July 2020, according to the warrants in the agenda, is $364,941, according to the warrants in the agenda that have been paid. That's enough to buy a house. The savings realized by retaining Schools Legal is extremely important. Now that Moland, Rios, and Tapia's actions have seen the light of day, and they can no longer force the board to retain private counsel to protect Palmer, I think your choices in the past make sense. Please consider retaining Schools Legal again. Finally, I'd like to address the actions of Cindy Zimmer, Kern County District Attorney, and Alma Rios. I think it's important to be aware that Palmer and what he accomplished didn't happen in a bubble. He had help. He had members of this board who ignored the complaints of district employees. He had members of the board who refused to censure him. He had members of the board who helped him take district money for his emergency legal services, which he told on record to the Bakersfield Californian was his censure. Even while Alma was hiring Emilio Huerta to write her response to the investigation by the state of California, she was voting with Palmer. Even after the grand jury called us dysfunctional, she ignored us. We were ignored even after community meetings and after being served with a recall petition. Alma, you asked me once at a meeting at Zephyr if there was anything I wanted to tell you. This is. I want Cindy Zimmer to continue her investigation into you and Mr. Tapia to find out how much money the district lost because of you and your votes. I want her to find out why you were so interested in voting with Palmer and what you were getting out of it. I want her to arrest you. I want you to have to pay back every dime of the money that can be traced back to Palmer's legal services. I want you to resign now, tonight, and to pull your name off the ballot before the election so you can stop bringing shame to this district. Thank you for your time.
Priscilla Quinn from the Kern County Superintendent of Schools office is here to discuss the letter from the office and the update on the progress of the FICMAT.
So I'm basically going to read the letter, even though you have it in your packets. It's from Dr. Barlow, and I am speaking on her behalf. So, dear board members and Superintendent Brown, the letter is to provide the board an update on the progress the district has made to date on the recommendations provided by our office as a result of the FICMAT audit and the actions taken by KCSOS. Recommendation 1, In response to the FICMAT report and accompanying KCSOS letter, the board reported on April 22nd, 2022, that it has reorganized and increased staff of the business department to address recommendations regarding purchasing, contracting, hiring of contractors and consultants, and expending public funds. Since April 2022, the KCSOS Fiscal Services Division has examined all expenditures prior to issuing warrants to ensure that each expenditure has been legally authorized and in compliance with board bylaws and policies. We will continue this practice the remainder of the fiscal year and review with the superintendent and CBO quarterly. It has been reported that in June 2022, after the publication of the FICMAT report, board member Moland again bypassed district established operational policies and procedures and violated board policy by attempting to acquire supplies from a Fairfax school district vendor without authority or an accompanying purchase order. The vendor did not issue the supplies, and the district superintendent was notified of the subject board member's actions. Recommendation 2. In response to the FICMAT report and accompanying KCSOS letter, the board reported that it has attended Brown Act, conflict of interest, and ethic trainings. Subsequent action, please confirm which board members attended each of these trainings. If any members were absent, please identify what systems have been put in place to ensure that board monitors that each board member regularly attend Brown Act, conflict of interest, and ethics training. Recommendation 3. In response to the FICMAT report and accompanying KCSOS letter, the board reported that it has consulted with legal counsel regarding residency requirements, duties, and options related to verifying compliance and the options available to the district to address potential residency violations. Subsequent actions. KCSOS has received additional questions from community members about member Moland's residency within the district. What measures has the board taken to verify that all candidates reside within the district so that the public can have confidence in the board's actions are taken by those who hold office lawfully in the public's interest? The district response to KCSOS dated April 22nd, 2022 states, finally, the board believes that it is incumbent for member Moland to resign from the board in order to fully address the issues raised in the grand jury and FICMAT reports, and hereby request that he immediately do so in the best interest of the district, its students, employees, and community. Moreover, if it is determined that member Moland had a conflict of interest with respect to the procurement of legal services or reimbursement for the campaign signs, the board requests that member Moland reimburse the district for such expenditures. It appears that member Moland has not resigned from his office and has submitted his name for re-election. In light of the reported progress made since the FICMAT report, KCSOS recommends that your board take all steps necessary to ensure that all board member actions conform with the law, policy, and bylaws regarding purchasing and contracting and expending public funds. Further, that your board put in place systems to ensure all board members reside within the district boundaries. Further, that your board ensure all members reside within, I duplicated that. As required by education code, KCSOS has notified the state controller and superintendent of public instruction and the Kern County District Attorney of the findings of the April 2022 FICMAT report. The FICMAT audit is a public document and is published on the FICMAT's website. Going forward, KCSOS will continue to cooperate with the District Attorney's Office and state officials, and it was signed by Mary Barlow. Do you have any questions?
Does the board have any questions for?
No.
This one?
No.
No.
Okay,
All right,
thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to have just a brief discussion on some of the recommendations and responses that were asked of us. So we need to respond and develop a letter to respond back to Dr. Barlow about some of the questions such as which members attended these trainings and what those dates were. And so I have records of that. And so I'll draft that for us to look at the next time. And then I will also include in there that, and as far as recommendation 3, where it discusses that, in that initial response, it stated that the board believes that the incumbent of Member Mullen to resign from the board to fully address the grand jury and FICMAT reports. Is that something that you would want to include in that response as well? You want that to remain in the response letter? Okay, I will begin to work on that draft and we'll bring it back next month. Thank you. Now we're into public comment.
Public comments?
Bring it closer to you.
Public comments?
All right, we are in public comments, and Catherine Paraso has signed in, and she has requested that her public comment also be translated.
Good evening. I wrote a memo to all board members the other day, and I expressed some desires, some concerns, and some wishes. But before I begin, I'd really like to address our community members, because we have a vote coming up next month. And it has come to my attention that certain members of our district, underrepresented members of our district community, have had their residency in California and in our district threatened. And these are lies. No, I've been here for 26 years, and there's no way that we would ever turn our back on anyone seeking an education. So to hear these lies being fostered out there, I just recommend that every community member do their own investigation, and your residency is not being threatened. We just want to love our kids and educate our kids. And if your kids are here, then they're our kids. We're not caring about red, yellow, black, and white. We're trying to educate everyone fairly and equally. And to have community members threatened is ridiculous. So the reason that that's coming up is because of this FICMAT report, amongst other reports. Trustee, former president of our board, Palmer Mullen, has done a lot, but I'm going to make this really simple. In 26 years of being here, very few people have been absent more than 3 times before the board asks them to resign, the board members, because if you have 12 meetings a year and you're absent 3 of them, that's 75%. We get help for our students when they're hitting a 75%. We want them much higher than that. We want them with a greater understanding. So to have the number of absences, that is in your hands. And I would like to see it addressed tonight. Trustee Mullen needs to be asked to resign, if on no other ground than the fact that he has had excessive absences. If he were a child, the truancy officers would be after him. This is ridiculous. Now you add to that the FICMAT, all the reports, he's still breaking rules and laws. It's ridiculous. He's had the ethics training, he's had the Brown training, and he's still doing what he wants to do. I highly encourage this board right now to put this on the agenda and remove him from the board forthwith. And honestly, if the 2 of you can't fall out of lockstep and vote on what is a good and right decision, then I'm asking for your resignation tonight. It's time to step up and be responsible members of this board to protect our students. Thank you.
It's long. Lo que ha sucedido durante las juntas en nuestra escuela durante los 2 años ha sido abominable. Pido el retiro de eliminación del miembro del consejo Palmer Mullen por causa y por el retiro inmediato de el miembro de consejo Ríos y Tapia por el seguimiento ciego para prevenir alguna forma o razón o el mejor interés de nuestros estudiantes y por la confabulación de Palmer Mulder. Él flagrantemente, repetitivamente y quebrantando las leyes, las políticas y las normas de mal dirigir a los fondos del distrito, fondos que significan en cuidar al cuerpo de estudiantes, no por sus propios intereses. Han habido varios quebrantos de la ley Brown Act y hay 3 miembros del consejo que constantemente están siguiéndolo ciegamente sin razón, justificación, votar por sus propios intereses. Completamente falta de lógica y no mencionar consideración de los estudiantes de la comunidad. Uno de los quebrantos es por un miembro o presidente, Paulin Mulder, que vive fuera del distrito y no pedirle la renuncia porque sus votadores ciegamente se deniegan a hacerlo, en hacerlo responsable. Les pido el retiro según los informes policiales por su arresto, que él no vive en el distrito. Además, le quiero decir a la junta directiva y a la comunidad, a nuestro distrito, en pedir que Palmer Mullen es un miembro de consejo y por lo menos que siempre está ausente por motivos de retiro y por honrar a esta junta y al distrito. Él falsificó su información, su domicilio y ha quebrantado repetitivamente el acto de Brown Act con quebrantos de la Asociación de California School Boards Association, quebrantando también las políticas de Fairfax School Board y especialmente mintiendo repetitivamente. Le enseñamos a nuestros estudiantes el valor a decir la verdad y es con gran tristeza que vemos a esta junta que no muestran las mismas consideraciones. Este es un quebranto de la ley y las políticas sin tener, para tener un comportamiento inmoral, ya sea si se haya inocente o culpable de estos delitos, los cuales él ha sido arrestado. Él ha mostrado que ha sido muy poco de carácter y ha comportado en mala fe con nuestros estudiantes. Ha manipulado el voto de la junta y ha permanecido en su posición sin importar las políticas. Él ha sido arrestado por esto y por otros comportamientos, mientras que él se presenta como un modelo de seguir, mientras que él ha sido el peor, ha proporcionado siendo el peor modelo. Además, pido que retiren a los otros 2 miembros, Río y Tapia, por su voto de seguimiento y su comportamiento. Como presidente, como una gran presidente y miembro del consejo, señora Ríos y el señor Tapia, Palmer Mullen, han tomado decisiones personales y fiscales, lo cual es su propio interés corrupto y claro, un conflicto de interés en no abstenerse el voto cuando deberían de hacerlo. Por estas razones, yo pido la investigación inmediata a los empleados que fueron contratados por esta junta, incluyendo el nuevo presidente de la junta, administradores del distrito, bufetes legales, múltiples individuos que fueron contratados para ser protegidos por su propio interés, mientras ignoraron los individuos más calificados para estas posiciones. Y para ser claro, no estoy incluyendo el contrato sabio de la señora Brown, pero eso sería tonto en contratar o asignar a otros. Pienso que es completamente atroz, de hecho, algo horroroso que la presidenta de esta junta es incapaz de desempeñar su trabajo y por tener un voto ciego en su puesto mientras hacerlo. Mientras que ella es la que está menos calificada, increíble, ignorante e incapaz de desempeñar sus deberes sin la asistencia de los abogados o a usar los gastos de los estudiantes. Además, estos mismos abogados sobrepasaron mientras que administraron las juntas del distrito bajo la apariencia de estos miembros. Finalmente, pido la cancelación de todos los servicios legales que fueron comprometidos por estos miembros de la junta y les pido que reintegremos a School Legal Services de inmediatamente. Por favor, de incluir los domicilios, los que estaban aquí en la siguiente junta. También quiero hablar sobre los sujetos de los comentarios públicos y es ahora tiempo que regresen el distrito de vuelta. Catherine Pariseau. No va a haber amenazas. Es ridículo que alguien amenace con respecto a su residencia legal.
All right, next we have Xavier Lopez.
Thank you for having me here. Good evening, board and superintendent. My name is Xavier Lopez. And I'm a parent of a seventh grade student at Fairfax Middle School. Unfortunately, it is due with dire events in which I decided to attend today's meeting. A couple days ago, my daughter was the victim of bullying during school hours, which resulted in a physical assault. As a parent, my job is to protect my child, love and nurture them. I am aware that you cannot protect them from the outside world, but I drop her off at school every morning, and I'm putting my trust in my daughter's safety in the hands of the administration and staff at the Fairfax Middle School in hopes that they will create a safe learning environment for my daughter. I am aware that they are unable to control every circumstance, nor are they always able to control the will of others who mean to cause harm. However, the care my daughter received that day was not only appalling, but disappointing to say the least. Moreover, on Tuesday, September 27th at Fairfax Middle School, my daughter was assaulted on campus under the supervision of professional personnel. My daughter did everything the school system taught her to report issues on bullying to an adult. My daughter informed the vice principal, Mrs. Cruz, on 2 occasions before the assault. On date September 22nd, 2022 at 11:50 a.m. and on September 27, 2022 at 7:50 a.m. the same day that the attack happened. While she was not seen right away, she was sent back to class and later pulled from her first period class to share her concern with the adult who could do something but lacked the effort and poor judgment from the vice principal led to this assault. As a result, my daughter ended up being a victim of bullying, which led to the assault, and now must live with that trauma and have lost faith knowing that the people who should have been there to protect her and keep her safe failed to do just that. The entire incident could have been prevented. She had been receiving ongoing harassment phone calls to her cell phone since the assault from an unknown number. What happened has happened, and my daughter must live with the result of careless actions and lack of supervision that occurred that day. As a parent and an advocate for my child, her well-being and safety, I took matters into my own hands and to ensure that my daughter could feel safe stepping foot onto the school grounds. My daughter's traumatized and scared to be back at school, and she doesn't feel safe. My child should never feel this way about going to school, especially having courage to tell the administrator on multiple counts that she was being bullied and threatened physical violence. She was assaulted on school premises. And I not only, excuse me, and I not once received a phone call. Although school administration was involved, they should have kept a closer eye on the students involved throughout the day. Furthermore, we have obtained and I have in my possession a video of the incident through social media that not only shows the the attacker premeditated attack came from behind and not giving her time to react, and clearly look as though the fall from the attack left her unconscious. At the time, the attacker pressed her knees on my daughter's chest and began to punch her in the face and head to the point where I had to take her to the hospital, where she then received medical care due to the assault at the school and diagnosed with a concussion. The video goes on for multiple minutes. And what worries me is the lack of adult supervision, as there is no visible staff, nor is there a safety officer present. After she sustained head trauma, face trauma, and bodily injuries, my daughter was left alone to seek safety of staff and walk herself to the principal's office. At this point, she did see a nurse that recommended just put ice on her head. My wife and I never received a phone call from the nurse about my daughter's injuries. And by the time I arrived at school campus, the nurse had already left home for the day. I guess being off work was more important than my daughter's well-being. I am not a nurse, by no means, but I do know that you must monitor a head injury. I also cannot begin to fathom why the school nurse never thought of notifying us about the assault and injuries. If it were your child that received this type of treatment or lack of, how would you feel? I am quite certain that you will respond differently. It is with extreme dismay that I will move forward and hold those accountable that felt my daughter that unfortunate day. There needs to be disciplinary consequences, effective safety rules, and programs that should be implemented and adhere to the student safety at Fairfax Middle School and all the schools within the governing body. This is a middle school where a safety officer should always be present. It is at the cost of my student welfare and the sense of safety from the vicious attack that I implore you to act. My daughter and the injuries sustained that day should not have had any collateral damage for this district to ensure proper safety protocols. In conclusion, as the past is the past, we cannot change what happened. But if there isn't accountability and proper procedures that are put in place, it will leave me no choice but to seek those responsible that neglected our safety environment and medical treatment. I am hoping that someone at Fairfax School District could step up and make things right for my daughter and ensure her safety. Adequate adult supervision on the playground and common areas, and that her voice matters, and that no regression should ever be made, and to ensure her proper safety and concussion procedures are put in place. The district could make this right for my daughter if they choose to. Your support is ensuring not only my daughter's safety, but that all of the students that attend this district. I hope to hear back from you guys with a positive response and put this incident behind us and learn from the mistakes that happened so no other student should feel unsafe and unheard at Fairfax Middle School. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And you can follow up with Ms. Brown. Make an appointment with Ms. Brown. with the superintendent, make an appointment to follow up. Thank you.
How about Ms. Brown reaches out to the parent? I think it's more appropriate for you to reach out to him. You never want to keep make a comment, so why are you making a comment now? He's a parent of the district. I need to reach out to him.
And I'll do that. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Lopez, was Bridget gonna also speak? Okay, all right. All right, thank you. All right, Maria Hernandez.
Good evening. It seems that every time I get here, my blood boils, but it's nothing unusual. I'm sorry that that happened to your daughter. My heart goes out to you. Desafortunadamente, muchas personas están más preocupadas por lo que pasa con sus cosas legales que con lo que pasa en la escuela. I need the superintendent, teachers, yard workers, officials to understand that their priority is our child, the kids who come here, not their own agendas. Yeah, that's what you two never had clear. You guys not doing your job. You're focusing more on defending people and voting in the wrong way. You guys should be ashamed and embarrassed of yourselves. What do you have to say now? Are you gonna continue laughing at my face? And I'm here to ask for you to get out. You have brought so much shame between you and him and the other. That's embarrassing. I'm not only embarrassed of both of you or the three of you, I'm embarrassed of the whole community. Our political people, they have never stepped up to do the right thing. You guys have spent $300,000. With that money, they can hire more people to protect students like this young lady. But no, your priorities are totally different. I feel that everybody has let down these kids in this community. Everyone. Because I don't know why he was here for so many years. Because if you notice that the recall didn't work, I wish somebody could say, we need to get rid of him based on he's not showing. But you always defended him. ¿Cómo se sienten ahora? ¿Tienen cara de ponerse aquí enfrente? ¿Y todavía de correr para el siguiente término? What a shame. Pero se nota que no tienen vergüenza, no lo han enseñado durante los pasados años. Ojalá que esta vez sí la comunidad no los voten porque ustedes no son personas para estar dirigiendo esta escuela. You're just here for your own gains. $300,000 could have hired so much people to protect the students, especially around this time, where there's so many things going on, so many drugs coming into schools, so many people bullying other students. But your focus is hiring law firm, voting for more law firms. Is law firm gonna come and protect kids? Do you finally understand what we're standing here for? And I don't even have kids here, and I care about it because this is my community. They deserve better. They deserve better education. It doesn't matter if we East Bakersfield. They can get higher. They can do better. I don't need to say that my kids are in good schools. That's besides the point. But these kids deserve better, and you guys are failing them. I am sorry to say this to everyone. Y si tuvieran un poquito de vergüenza, la única razón por la que yo estoy aquí, I want you guys' resignation. We need to clean house. How can you serve here knowing everything you've been accomplished of? Son cómplices de una persona que pronto ojalá sea juzgado y convicto. Eso siempre lo van a llevar en su corazón. Usted ha tenido la oportunidad y no ha querido. Y tú también. Nomás contestas cuando te conviene. Y no me estás haciendo esos ojos. I'm tired of them. So if I were you, si tuvieras un poquito de vergüenza y dignidad, you would do your resignation.
Recognition section.
Yes, we are in the recognition section, and each month we honor an empowering employee. And this month's Empower Employee is from Virginia Avenue School. And Maria Apodaca, come on up.
Good evening, board and community. My name is Roberto Martinez, Principal, Virginia Avenue. And I have the great honor of standing here next to Ms. Apodaca. When I think of what makes up an employee of Virginia Avenue, what sticks out the most are these qualities: hardworking, willing to help, going above and beyond what is required of you. And most importantly, being humble. Ms. Apodaca is all of these and more. She's a perfect example of what makes Virginia Avenue so great. She is always willing to help out whenever needed. She goes far past what is asked of her on a daily basis, and her humbleness is something of what is inspiring for others. I have known Ms. Apodaca for a while now, and she has always remained the same high-spirited, smiling, welcoming person. And if you know her, you can always find her on campus because you know that laugh. It's a special laugh. I nominated Ms. Apodaca because of all this and more. But the moment I knew she was most deserving of this Empowering Employee Award was a recent day at work where she carried out her full day of duties in her pre-K special day class. Then she coached after school, her volleyball team. I can't remember if it was practice or a game. We were there pretty late. I had my bag on, ready to go, 5, 6 o'clock. I was ready to go, the day was long. And she flipped on a hat. She got her janitor cart ready, and she subbed for the night custodian. And my mind just exploded. I was like, this is what it is to be a Virginia Avenue Viking. She is what makes not only Virginia Avenue great, but she is a great example of what makes Fairfax School District great. Congratulations, Ms. Apodaca. We are
And we also have, every month, we give our monthly attendance award. So this is the first award of this school year, as we've had our first full month of attendance, or second month. But We have a new attendance trophy to pass out and unveil. So we have a brand new attendance trophy and it comes with some treats. And so I would like to recognize our month 2 attendance winner, which is Zephyr Lane Elementary. Congratulations. Yeah, we're going to report.
Report, Superintendent.
I just wanted to briefly share some of the activities and acknowledge some of the hard work that's been going on around the campus the last month or so and things that are coming up. We talked about expanded learning and how that is going to grow throughout this year. And one thing that we've had a lot of requests for is more activities for our younger students, our K-2 students who aren't quite old enough for sports and they would like to have something to do after school. So we have an upcoming called K2 Adventure Camp starting November 1st. And it's going to be called The Science of Superpowers. And so I can't wait to see what that's all about. Also, our elementary school orchestra is off and running with 117 students participating in grades 3 through 6th grade. So I can't wait to see their upcoming performances and watch that debut. Also out in the community, we've had a lot of community events with family picnics and a literacy luncheon over at Shirley Lane, which was well attended. And VA had Virginia Avenue had their school carnival, and that was a smashing success. The Fall Festival of Fairfax is coming up, and I can't believe that Q1 is almost over tomorrow. Is it tomorrow? The 14th? Yes. Q1 is over, and that has been a quick first quarter. So parent conferences are coming up the week of October 24th. And next week is going to be an exciting week as our 6th graders from Shirley Lane and Zephyr Lane go to Camp Keep. This has been a long time goal, and we're excited to this is part of our LCAP. And so they will be enjoying a week of Camp Keep, and Virginia Avenue will go in November. And then we also have district and site administrators attending a wonderful symposium called the Power of Equity in Education on October 20th. And we're excited to have a team attend that conference. And then I also would like to have Mr. Clark, our Assistant Superintendent of Ed Services, share about our district-wide network called the Fairfax Instructional Learning Community.
Right. Good evening. So in front of you, you'll see a couple of handouts, and one of them looks like a light bulb. And that light bulb is kind of our visual for the Fairfax Instructional Learning Community. It's a new process we started this year that is a network of primarily for support staff. We're working on looking at a lot of our systems, and it's very data driven. Our focus is on student support and providing. We have a lot of support staff, and so this is an avenue for them to collaborate together. And so we get everybody together once a month, and we look at data. We talk about programs. We talk about what's working, what we need to work on, and it's really kind of spiraled into some other projects out of this with looking at our priority standards with our kindergarten through 3rd grade leads. And so you'll see on the second page there's like a list of dates and covers some of the topics we're covering. So our October one that's coming up, we are bringing all of our TOSAs, reading specialists, counselors, and STEM teachers in to collaborate together. And we're also going to have our first English Learner Advisory Committee and our District English Learner Advisory Committee. So you'll see throughout the year, we're going to do a lot of things focused just on student supports and instruction in the classroom. So it's something new we're trying this year, and so far we're off to a great start with it.
Board report.
I had the honor of working with Vicki Garza, Mrs. Cornell, and I forget who was next to me, sell tickets at the Virginia Avenue Carnival. It was, as Mrs. Brown said, a smashing success. It was huge, huge. And my congratulations to Mrs. Buddy and whoever worked on it. It was outstanding. Thank you.
Yes, I'd like to add to that. It was amazing. There was a lot of participation, so many parents, kids. I mean, it was busy, busy, busy. So that is always a great thing for our kids, right? And it's a fun night, family out. So we had a great time. Thank you.
Presentation, Superintendent Brown.
Yes, we have a presentation tonight, and it is a presentation of a demographic study by Davis Demographics, and it'll be shown on the screen behind us.
Dave, can you hear me? Hello?
Hi, Cassandra. We're
Hi.
here. We've got you on the screen and they are ready for your demographic study here to be put on. So
Perfect.
you should be able to share your screen.
Okay, it's saying that the host, okay, I got it. Never mind. Oops. Just get this. Sorry about this. All right. Good evening, everyone. Superintendent,
go.
board members. Thank you for allowing me to present virtually tonight. I greatly appreciate it. As Dave mentioned, my name is Cassandra Regas. I am a project manager with Davis Demographics. And tonight I will be walking you through the fall 21-22 demographic study. Keep in mind, all this data that is presented tonight represents data from the fall of last year. Some background about the scope of work of what we did for the district. We geocoded 3 years of student data. Now you may be asking yourself, what is geocode? The basis and the backbone of our work is GIS-based, Geographic Information Systems. So geocoding basically means we take every student address for the last 3 years and place dots on the map. You guys do it every day when you search a location on your phone in Apple Maps or whatever maps you have on your phone. That is a version of geocoding. Next, we researched area development projects and plans. We were in communications with the different developers, city, county planners, and determining what projects are currently active within the district and what projects are planned for the next 10 years. We also analyzed relevant area demographic data. This can be in terms of kindergarten births, the number of births occurring within your district zip codes, and a new one this year, TK birth rates as well. From there, we compounded our factors and we developed a 10-year student forecast. A key piece of our study are study areas. You can think of study areas as small neighborhood-sized areas. There, we organize the district into 65 neighborhoods. These neighborhoods contain roughly 25 to 75 students per area. In order to build these building blocks, we used existing street networks, different geographic features, freeways, parcel lines, and overall student density to achieve this. Now, each one of these little 65 neighborhoods will have individual study area forecasts. And while the overall district-wide growth the district may be growing, you will see different areas of growth and decline as more neighborhoods mature. Another key piece of our study are your students. So we, like I mentioned previously, we geocoded 3 years of student data, which is basically mapping student locations. In order to use this, we acquired the latest parcel and street GIS data from Kern County. And the dots you see on the left-hand side are all your students geocoded onto their houses. Now, our forecasts are residence-based, and what does this mean? Resident-based forecasts are used to predict where future students will be living. They help identify population trends that may not be present or easily identifiable when establishing projections on enrollment. This is due to things we know as special programs, different school curriculums, and open enrollment patterns that occur naturally within the district.
Resident-based forecasts are used to determine the potential location of new facilities or if we need to consolidate assets. And it's also very helpful to determine potential future boundaries and where we need to make adjustments in the future. The map on the right-hand side is a heat map, and this is your overall TK8 student population. The dark yellow and red pockets, that is your densest part of your district. That is where the most students reside. And as you get further to the south and where those blue pockets are, that's the sparse and where less resident students reside at. Our overall projection methodology, we take your current, or in this case, last year's fall 21 students and 3 years of historical data. We then apply birth factors, in this case, the kindergarten and TK now. We apply mobility factors, which is overall ins and outs in the movements of your student cohorts throughout the district. We then apply student yield factors to only the areas that have new residential development. This does not get applied to your mature areas. And overall, these factors combine as a result in your student forecast. Diving a little deeper into our factors, we'll start with the K class. These birth factors are used to determine future kindergarten class sizes. Birth factors indicate how many children may start kindergarten 5 years after birth. All future K classes are calculated from this base year. And in 2021, the base year was 2016. You can see the highest birth was observed in 2008 when the district zip code had roughly 1,800 births in that year. And since then, area births have been declining. This is a common trend we see nationwide, and typically low birth rates correlate to smaller K classes. However, as you'll see in a moment, that isn't the case here. The K class appears to be relatively unaffected, and it's down roughly 17 students since 2019. And overall, in the next 10 years, the K class is expected to grow roughly 2% by the end of the projection timeframe. Another key factor are transitional kindergarten birth factors. Keep in mind, this is from data from last year. So we, as you know, universal TK went into effect this fall as a result of AB 130. And how we determine this is basically we did a comparison between the 2017 births and the 2018 to identify a percentage change. So last year's TK students were born in 2017. After discussion with district staff, we modified these births a bit to be more in line of what the TK class is currently, with roughly 87 TK students at the last time we spoke. The TK births have been increased to represent what the district is currently experiencing and to be more in line with the kindergarten birth rates in the future and the further down in the projection timeframe in years 24 through 25. Another key piece are our mobility factors. So mobility refers to the increase or decrease in the migration of students within the district boundary. So this is your move-in and move-outs of students from existing housing. These are your mature neighborhoods where no new development occurs. Mobility captures your apartment occupancy fluctuations, any housing resales, foreclosures, and overall movement out of the district. It is common to see specific patterns reflected in these factors that most public schools experience. For example, if you take a look in the elementary grade in the K-1, you will see that we see it's green. This means that there are gains at this level. This basically just means that there's students from daycare services entering the public school system. Now, if you take a look at the bottom row, we see the district-wide mobility. Overall, district-wide mobility is relatively healthy. More families are moving into the district and staying. So if you see the red pockets, 0.98, that just means from grades 3 to 4, you're losing two students roughly in that area district-wide. This is common in that we observe in other districts within Kern County just because of due to the affordability of the county, and now that the pandemic allowed everybody the leisure to work from home. We're seeing district-wide mobility, especially in Kern County, on the healthy side or in the green. So in order to achieve these mobility factors, we mapped that your last 3 years of student data from 2019 to 21, and we applied as a percentage increase or decrease for each grade. So if, for example, how we can interpret this, if we have 100K grade students in Shirley Lane's attendance area. And we multiply that by the K-1 mobility factor of 1.06. We'll technically have 106 first grade students within that area next year. Another key factor are student yield factors. So student yields are only applied when there is new residential development. These yields determine how many additional students will be generated from new housing projects within the district. And you'll see the student yields on the right-hand side. These were provided by the district that were used throughout the study. Those yields then get applied to our residential development. We researched all current and future residential projects within the district. We spoke to developers, city, county planners, did our due diligence with those. And we determined that there are 744 total units planned within the next 10 years. And that's estimated to generate 453 TK8 students spread over the projection timeframe. You will notice in the summary below, you'll see the red box in the years 29 through 3031, you'll see zeros. This is very common as we don't want to guesstimate this far out with developer schedules, and development is very fluid, it's ever changing. A pandemic happened, so we can't determine the number of units this far out. Just below that, you'll see a development summary. This correlates to the map on the next slide, but we have the map ID that you'll see, the track number, project, developer, the study area, which are those little individual neighborhoods where these projects are, the total units, the unit type of those projects, the number of units remaining, the status, whether it's planned, active, inactive, estimate first occupancies. This is when families will start moving in, when we can expect that. And estimate full occupancy when we expect the project to be fully built out. This summary chart is separated into your elementary attendance areas. And here's the map that goes through that. It shows your elementary attendance areas and the most development occurring within Zephyr Lane. A key piece to the study is the student transfer analysis. These are what we call attendance matrices. So these matrices act as a check and balance for student accounting. These matrices illustrate where students reside based upon their geocoded address and which school they attend based upon district provided school data. It helps the district track its open enrollment patterns. We can see intra-district transferring patterns by comparing different rows and columns. So how you can read this, if you follow down in the blue column, these are all the students attending Shirley Lane. So we see that there are 485 students attending Shirley Lane. If we keep going down the rows, we see that there are 33 out of districts and 80 special education students for a total enrollment number of 668. If we keep going down, we see the percent transfers in. That school has 15% transfers in. Now, if we read across this in the red, this is the students residing in Shirley Lane. So we see that there are 528 students, TK6 students, living within Shirley Lane's attendance area. 485 are living within Shirley Lane's attendance area and attend Shirley Lane. We see that there are 92% of students are attending their school of residence. If we read diagonally in the yellow, we see that these students are attending and residing in the school. So there are 485 attending Shirley Lane and residing in Shirley Lane. Diving into the 10-year forecast at a district-wide level, keep in mind these are based on where the students live rather than the enrollment at each site. Overall, district-wide, we are estimating a growth of 304 TK8 students throughout the next 10 years, with the largest increase observed at the elementary level with roughly 227 TK6 students. We're also noticing increase at the junior high level with 77 students. Now, overall district-wide growth is due to the increasing amount of residential development, the implementation of UTK, and of course, that stable K class that we'll dive into the next slide. So diving a little deeper into this district-wide forecast, we will see that stable K class with this yellow line here. We'll see that in 2019, there are 256 kindergartners, and in 2021, last year, there were 239. That's a loss of only 17 students, and that remains, the K class remains stable with gains throughout the projection timeframe, as long also with that TK as it grows, as it becomes final. We also see that the amount of residential development is occurring to the override district-wide growth of 304 students. This is estimated alone, residential development alone is estimated to generate 453 TK8 students. Now, taking this at a smaller level, we'll go into our 10-year attendance area forecast. We're just taking Zephyr Lane as an example. The report goes into full, goes into detail about every attendance area within the district. So currently, keep in mind, this is what is occurring within the boundary and where the students live rather than the enrollment at each site. That's why this number may be different than what the enrollment was last year. So in 2021, there were 696 students living in that attendance area. By 2031, we estimate 112 TK6 student growth to 808 students. Now, keep in mind this chart, we do see overcapacity, the attendance area hitting overcapacity in 2024. So we need to keep an eye on this attendance area. Next, we do break the forecast into enrollment. So these are non-resident based forecasts, and these are based on the enrollment at each site. So enrollment forecasts help district staff of potential staffing needs for each site, determining budgets and classroom requirements. Davis has developed a method that combines the resident-based forecast that we just discussed and current student transfer patterns to calculate these enrollment projections. This method helps you guys evaluate the current capacity of each site and if there's any possible needs in the future. To wrap things up, the 10-year forecast results in overall district-wide growth by 304 TK8 students by the end of the 10-year timeframe in 2031. This growth is potentially due to a stable K class, not much movement there, the ramp up of UTK and residential development. A few things to watch moving forward. We need to keep a close eye on mobility and student yield factors. We need to continue to closely track the impact of rising housing costs on resales and new housing. We need to watch the influx of families moving to Kern County that is contributing to the positive mobility that you're observing within the district. We need to monitor the mobility of students matriculating at various grade levels within the district, K-1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3. That positive mobility all contributes to the growth. We need to continue to monitor the growth in Zephyr Lane attendance area and continue to monitor it as it reaches its capacity in 2024. We also need to keep an eye on development and plan development and possible changes to plans in the pipeline. Things may ramp up or slow down, and that's contingent on the market. And that is it for me. If you guys have any questions, thank you.
Thank you, Cassandra.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cassandra. Does the board have any questions for Cassandra while we have her about the study? Yes, the study right now has everything that has been applied for permits and so forth has been taken into account in the study. Okay, all right. Thank you,
You're
Cassandra.
welcome. Thank you.
Consent. Are there any questions or comments on consent section? And if not, do I have a motion to approve consent agenda items 1 through 12?
First motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Action item. Business and finance.
Yes, action item 1 is a rescind of the FJH and ZLE shade structure bid. This bid was rescinded by request of the awarded bid. I recommend that this approval be as presented. Mr. Mack, do you want to elaborate about the bid and about
Yeah, so we had previously awarded the bid for the shade structures on those two schools. However, after they did the pre-con meeting, they realized that was not something that they felt they could do adequately, so they requested to do out. They are a concrete company that we would love to work for the purpose with their concrete, but I respect them coming out if they didn't think they could do it safely constructed. So we will be taking that out to rebid if approved to pull them.
Action item 1. Do I have a first motion?
I so moved.
Second,
Second motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Action item 2, Ms. Brown?
Yes, we have our comprehensive school safety plans. They are also available for review at the school sites of the district office. I would like to pull the Fairfax Junior High's comprehensive safety plan. It will be approved at the next meeting. I recommend we do approve Virginia Avenue, Shirley Lane, and Zephyr Lane's elementary safety school plan.
If there's no questions or comments, do I have a first motion?
First motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Action item 3, Ms. Brown?
Yes, Mr. Mack's going to talk a little bit about the agreement between Profab Construction Inc. and FSD and about the agreement between Hufco Inc. and Fairfax.
Yeah, so I'll speak to items 3 and 5. So during COVID, we had plans for multiple portables to be installed, triple wides. So this is specifically talking about the triple wide at Shirley Lane. During COVID times, there were a lot of restrictions put down or lifted where things could be done outside of DSA approval. But then once they were done, they would have to be plans would officially have to be approved and everything would have to be brought up to code. So we have a triple wide that was set down, has not been attached mechanically at Shirley Lane. And this was during COVID when it was first put down. It is 5 feet in the wrong direction, and under the DSA requirements, it must be moved those 5 feet. So it is there. It does not connect up to electric power or water, but with it being a portable, it will have to be disassembled, moved off the property, and then the pad reconstructed underneath. There was an oversight with the architect. He has agreed to share costs. This would be amicable. But this is for the approval of having it removed and replaced and the pad reconstructed so that we can get students in their STEM lab there.
So you're right.
For 5 feet. Thank your Department of State architect.
Yeah, right.
Is there any questions or comment? If not, do I have a first motion?
I so moved.
Second?
Second motion.
Second? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Action item 4, Ms. Brown?
Yes, we have an appointment of members to the Fairfax Citizen Oversight Committee. This committee is convened to as an oversight on our school bonds. And so there are members from the community that have applied to be part of this committee, and Mr. Mack will read their names, and then upon approval, they will be part of our Fairfax Citizen Oversight Committee.
So based on the applications turned in for our oversight committee, we had 4 seats available for a 7-seat committee. So I'm recommending that the Board of Trustees of the Fairfax School District appoint Miguel Santillan, Stacy Denise, Guadalupe Yepez, and James Minna to serve as on the committee of community leaders that will serve as the Independent Citizens Oversight Committee for the oversight of the district's Measure B school facility bond program.
If there's no questions or comments, do I have a first motion?
I'll make that first motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Action item 5, Ms. Brown?
Yes, Action item 5 is that that goes along with action item 3 as part of that modular that needs to be moved over the 5 feet. That's an agreement between HUFCO Inc. and Fairfax School District. So I recommend that be approved as presented.
If there's no questions or comment, do I have a first motion?
First motion?
Do I have a second?
Second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Education service, action item 1, Ms. Brown.
Yes, this is a consultant agreement between Kevin Burbeck and Fairfax School District, and this is for some after school activities at the Fairfax Junior High, and it's for ukulele lessons. Recommend that's approved as presented.
If there's no questions or comments, do I have a first motion? Do I have a second?
Second, if I can attend.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Personnel, action item 1.
Yes, this is a job description and the title is for a migrant liaison. This position was recently called a migrant aide, and it was held by a longtime employee who recently retired. And so took this opportunity to really look at that job description and make sure it's aligned with the program requirements, and that is what has been done. And so this would be recommended for approval for the migrant liaison.
If there's no questions or comments, do I have a first motion?
I so move.
Second. motion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Action item 2, Ms. Brown.
Yes, this is a job description for a new position called Campus Supervisor 1. And this will be a new position at Fairfax Junior High. And it'll be an 8-hour campus supervisor position. And the job description, it has in there that this individual will be AB 1626 certified, which means that they have had some special training in regards to K-12 school security. They will also be wearing a district provided uniform, and this uniform will consist of khakis and a polo shirt that says security on the back with the school name on it. And so do I have any questions, or is there anything regarding this campus supervisor 1 position? All right, and so I would recommend that this be approved as presented.
If there's no questions or comments, do I have a first motion?
I'm sorry, can you repeat again what the bill was?
It's AB 1626. It's a training certificate for K-12 school safety, school security.
Okay.
And so it really kind of goes into beyond that they are really required to engage themselves if there is altercations on campus, such as a physical fight between students or adults or so forth, provide security and perimeter security if the schools need to be evacuated. It just goes beyond, it's definitely more specialized training than our campus supervisors were currently required to have.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, there's also first aid training.
Good question. Thank you.
Do I have a first motion?
I'll make that. Go ahead, Mr. Tapia. I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Action item 3, Ms. Brown.
Yes, action item 3, we have a recommendation to approve a director of fiscal services. This is Alexander Anfoso. I get that right? All right. He comes to us from El Cajon School District, and there was a deep pool of candidates, and we are beyond excited to welcome Mr. Alexander Anfoso to our district office team as Director of Fiscal Services, and I recommend for approval.
If there's no questions or comment, do I have a first motion?
I'll make that go ahead.
I so move.
There's no question.
Maria has a question.
I would like to ask Mr. Alejandro Alfonso, do you know, Ms. Maria? Yes. No? Okay, that's all I needed to know.
Do I have a first motion?
I'll make that first motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Alex, welcome to Fairfax. Thank you. So Alex, you want to take a minute to tell us a little bit about yourself? All right. Yeah, come up here, please. And I gave him no warning, so.
Face them or face here? Okay, well, I'm not gonna use the microphone. My name's Alexander. Sorry, I'm not making a very good person. Hi, my name's Alexander Onfoso. I'm from Kern County originally, grew up in a similar demographic, grew up in Irvine, California. Most of my life, went to high school here in Bakersfield for about 10, except for 10 years. When I went away, not to prison, but I was in the military. So. You know, I swore I'd never come back to Bakersfield yet. Here we are. And I'm, you know, at the end of the day, I'm glad I did. There's no place like home. As much as we knock it, it's still home at the end of the day, right? But just glad to be here. Been in school business for a couple of years now. Before that, I was at a prison, not as an inmate, but as a finance director for a local prison. We'll get into detail here, but anyway, just I'll keep it short. Thank you, guys. I really look forward to my time here and really look forward to really helping this district rebound and kind of reshape our image and, you know, moving onward and upward, you know, because at the end of the day, you know, especially on this side of town, the kids deserve it. You know, our people deserve it. Our kids deserve it. And just know that's where my heart's at. And I hope to do whatever I can to really help this district. So thank you, guys. Thank you, board.
Action item 4, Ms. Brown?
Yes, we have some new classified staff to hire tonight. They're for a variety of positions of ACES activity leaders and for the position of campus supervisor 1. I recommend that the board approve the individuals as presented.
If there's no questions or comment, do I have a first motion?
I so move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Action item 5. Ms.
Yeah.
Brown?
Yes, this is the personnel report. It just tracks all of the movement and transfers in the district and as well as has our new hires. So recommend that we approve the personnel action report.
If there's no questions or comment, do I have a first motion?
First motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Action item 6, Ms. Brown?
Yes, we have some teachers that are in progress working towards their teaching credentials. And so they require a special type of waiver, which is called a variable term waiver. And so these individuals are listed and I'd like to recommend them for approval. Yes. For a brief time she did, yes. Mhm.
If there's no questions or comment, do I have a first motion?
I so move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Action item 7.
Yes, there's been a tentative agreement reached between the current Fairfax Teachers Association and Fairfax School District. And this would be the acceptance and ratification of the collective bargaining agreement between the district and Fairfax. And this would be good for the 2022 and 23 school year.
If there are no questions or comments, do I have a first motion?
First motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Board policy, Superintendent Brown.
But these are two board policy revisions and they were for board bylaws. The first one was about meeting and notices. The second one, board bylaw 9322, was agendas and meeting materials. This is the second reading. And so I would recommend these for approval.
Do I have a first motion to approve the board policy?
Third.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
I,
Okay. Board policy revisions, first reading.
So, our normal practice is that we have a first reading of a board policy and then we adopt at a second reading. This board policy and AR would be a first reading and I would recommend that we approve the first reading. It's an update of our policy of board policy 514121. And the update to this policy would allow for there to be Narcan available on the school campuses if needed. And so in your packets in front of you, I have some information about fentanyl and the overdoses and information about that. And this is just a preemptive we have not had any issues yet on our campuses, but to make sure that we have this available. The first step would be to update our policy. And then I would take the steps to fill out the proper paperwork and documentation and provide the training necessary to have those individuals on campus be trained appropriately to have this available if needed.
question, it'll be available on all of our campuses.
Yes,
correct?
we are going to have it
Be
on
clear.
our campuses. We do have, we have a junior high, so that means we have 7th and 8th graders here. But we also have, TK through 6th grade at our elementary campuses. And so, I would recommend that we have it at all sites.
Do I have first motion?
I so move and I'm really glad you're doing. this. Thank you. It's needed.
Do I have a second?
Second,
All in favor?
I,
Aye. Board policy revision, first reading.
And so these are first reading. I just asked the board, please go through these. And if you have any questions, they will be back at the next board meeting for a second reading. These are all updates to current policies. There are not new additions. They are all updates to current policies.
Next regular board meeting, November 10, 2022. Other business?
We're up here. We have one more. We have a determination.
Sorry, was that November 10th? Next board meeting was November 10th.
But before we go there, there was just one more thing we need to talk about, and that is our annual organizational meeting. That meeting has to be held between December 9th and December 23rd. And so that is outside the date of our regular scheduled board meeting. And so, the board needs to decide if, to have we want to have a special meeting that's that month to have our annual organizational meeting and what that date would be. I have to submit some paperwork within the next month. It's so the 9th, between the 9th and the 23rd. I would say, that week leading up to winter break tends to be a busy week.
when does, the winter,
Break begins, our last day of school is December 23rd this year. We go right up to,
okay, so it would.
so at 9th, it can be on any
The
date.
sooner
but
the better.
The 9th is a Friday. That's a Friday. The following week, if you want to kind of stick with a Thursdays like we typically have, would be the 15th.
I mean, we have to remember there's members that are gonna be coming in, so we want to make sure that it's done sooner, the sooner the better. So if it
Mhm.
can be the 9th, that
Okay.
would be the best thing.
All right.
It's a Friday, but
So that's all right.
Friday or the Monday.
Friday the 9th would be fine, and you want to stick with the same time of 6 p.m.? Okay.
Other business before you adjourn. As a community member, you had all meeting to reflect. And I ask you, Alma Rios and Mr. Tapia, will we be having your resignation tonight? I think as a board, the president, you should at least address the community. You've been doing all these decisions for us. And apparently they haven't been the best decisions. We've been here 2 years already telling you constantly, do the right thing, and you guys haven't done the right thing. So tonight is the time that you should, you had all this time to reflect. Your time's all coming up to an end. And I don't know why you went and submit your name for re-elections this coming up November. I think it's best if you resign now and withdraw your name from the elections before November. It's only fair for our district. You're one of the main reasons why 300 and something $1,000 were out of our district. Our kids are lacking that. You know how many kids could have been fed with that money? Our community is composed of so many farm workers. All of our parents, a lot of them are out in agriculture, and they struggle to come and feed their families every day. And you're here making decisions that cost our district $320-something thousand. All these families could have had a warm meal in their house, and maybe Fairfax could have provided that for them. Obviously, we have that money running around, like laying around for you guys to go ahead and think that you can use it in attorneys. So I think it's only fair for you to resign tonight. And Mr. Tapia, I'm sorry, you had so many opportunities to do the right thing. I'm sure that you probably were compelled to do it. Maybe you were pressured to keep on voting the way you did. I don't know. I really don't. I feel like you were misguided, honestly. And you had multiple opportunities to make the right decision, and I feel like you still didn't do it. I think it's only fair that we have an answer as a community tonight from you, both of you, whether you will be resigning tonight or not. I mean, you were able to break protocol and ask the family right here to make an appointment, so you addressed them. So why not address us as a community right now and tell us whether you will be resigning tonight or not?
I'm here for the community, and
No, you're not.
I'm not.
No, you're not. It's
Thank
not good.
you.
It shouldn't be a debate. And really, I suggest you think about what comes out of your mouth right now, because you have never been here for the community.
Thank you for coming, and thank you for your question. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you for coming to the Fairfax school meeting. I'm adjourned at what time?